What was that? What? What's that sound? Where? It's aliens and they're living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens?
Hello, weirdos. How's everybody doing out there in Weirdo Land? Are we on, Denny's? Are we live? We're good? All right.
All right.
Just making sure.
Live and local.
How's everybody doing today?
Not bad.
We're down a man.
Yeah, I think Beckett, he has some sort of fancy soiree. I don't know.
Did he? I'm sure
I'm purely speculating.
He's saving zebras in Australia. I don't even know if they have zebras in Australia. How are you, Vicky?
I am a lot better than you. You don't sound too great. On
Yeah,
cue.
as the day goes on.
Right on cue.
I apologize to everybody in the audience and in my personal life. The last 4 days have been insane. I have not been feeling well. I know people don't really give a shit or want to hear someone complain about their health, but it's been rough. So please, thank you. Just bear with me here.
Yeah, I think everybody's dealing with it. Like half our building is all sick, so.
Yeah, it's knocked me on my ass, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to lay in my bed and just try to feel better.
Oh, dude, the flu's the worst. Jen was saying, I'd say 1/3 of her class has it right now, so.
Yeah, we had two going around at school. We had one of them that was the stomach one, and then they had the flu type one with the cold and all that kind of stuff. And I managed to escape both of them, and it's spring break, so if I catch it, I know exactly where I got it from.
You are going to be really pissed off at me. Yeah, you're going to be feeling as terrible as I am next week. But, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Well, because I was sick, I got to binge watch a lot of Netflix. And there's this I highly recommend it to you weirdos out there. It's about all conspiracies. They've got your moon landing, Denny's.
Love it.
They have got how, some people believe JFK got shot. Why do they think JFK got shot, Denny's? Because he knew something.
Oh, that he was. So there's a couple of theories on why he did, and they also argue that they used a glass bullet or a ice bullet or something
For it to melt.
so that there'd be no evidence of it. And then there's theories that because the most realistic in my opinion is that guy standing on the bank. That was what they were saying. There's a suspicious guy on the bank. They say shot him.
There's also a suspicious woman too with the JFK case. The picture is this woman. She is walking towards the camera, and everyone else is walking away from it. Do you know what I'm talking about, Vicky?
Isn't that the one too? It has something to do with her outfit. Like everybody else is like in warmer stuff, and she's got like a coat. Is that the one too? I've seen that picture going around.
Yeah,
it has to do with her outfit.
I'm not sure if it's the same woman, but there's a guy.
It's the guy on the bank. Yeah, the woman walking towards the camera.
But some conspiracy theorists out there, they think JFK got shot. They wanted to silence him because he knew stuff about UFOs and aliens.
Well, totally. You could argue he's like one of the four founders of NASA. So.
I mean, he's the guy that was constantly preaching about, we're going to go to the moon.
Well, so conspiracy theories, in my opinion, could live back in those days, but today we got the internet. So you wonder if the conspiracy theories are getting out present day, but now they're being discredited so quick. That's kind of like, oh, that's a fake story. Oh, that's a fake story.
So you don't think in today's day and age people can pull the wool over your eyes? They can do trickery?
It's too hard because, all right, so I had this friend. He got a job. I've told the story on air, but he got a job at a security facility, a super high-level security facility. And the first day on the job, he took a selfie of him at his desk saying, look where I'm working. He was literally fired within 13 minutes of that post going
And
up.
this was at?
This is out in Colorado. This is some big company they have out there that does personalized security. And that was an immediate violation of a security protocol. So I'm saying if there's people out there like that and they're getting privy to insane knowledge or things that are being hidden, there's no way somebody's not going to leak it.
Well,
so I think the key is discrediting it as it's leaked.
So let's look through history here. What big conspiracies were proven to be true? Do we have a list off the top of your head where you go, everyone thought everyone was crazy, this was insane, and then voila, it's a real thing? Does anything come to mind?
That's really hard to say. Because even if it is proven true, there's still a group of people who will still naysay. Even if they found an alien vessel, they would say that's a reverse engineered military vessel.
But that doesn't. People can say something's not true till they're blue in their face. But the bottom line is, there are facts out there.
For sure.
And there gets to a point where It doesn't matter if the lunatics are screaming, oh, well, this and that. If there's proven facts, you got to be able to stand on that.
Go way back to where we thought the Earth was flat, then we determined it was round, and now there's a group of people that thinks it's flat again. So I don't think we ever believe anything 100%.
But are those the lunatics right there? Are they a low percentage of people that are, A, looking for attention? I'm talking about flat earthers. Or do they really, whether they're attention seekers or if they believe it or not, it's a very low percentage.
Right, but like Denny's was saying, there's always going to be somebody. It's never going to be 100% accepted. Anything is going to be 100%
But
accepted.
again, though, even if you have facts, just because someone's saying, well, that's not a fact, it doesn't matter. You can still prove something to be true.
For sure. And there's people that will prove things to be true, and there's still people that won't believe that it's true.
Yeah, but they're lunatics if you actually have proof of it. If I walk in on somebody sleeping with another person, I have proof right there. I'm seeing them having sex with each other. Let's say I'm dating someone and I walk in.
So you have proof.
I have proof.
How would you prove that to somebody?
I could do a couple things. I could take a picture.
Perfect.
I could do
Record
video.
them.
But even
Audio.
but my point is, even when you have proof like that, you guys are saying there's always going to be
I
someone
mean,
that
that's
says,
a doctored photo. What are you talking about?
Now,
Yeah.
but that's
That's fake
There's always
audio.
going to be, just like you've always asked me, it's like, what would you say to the skeptic who doesn't believe in ghosts? I'm not going to say anything to them because there's always going to be somebody that's going to take whatever evidence I have, whatever personal experiences, and reduce it to nothing.
But here's the thing, though. That's a big difference between you believing in ghosts and proving ghosts and then to walking in someone's room and seeing somebody cheating on them. I mean, you have tangible proof right there. A lot with the ghost stuff is experience. It's EVPs, which are, sometimes not the best to prove. I see your guys' point, but my whole thing is just because someone's saying,
You're
that's
right,
not
you're
real,
right.
doesn't
But
mean
then
it's not real.
ultimately, it only matters if you believe it. If you personally believe it from your experience, then you're like, I know definitively that's true, whether people believe you or not. So there's people out there. Are they a lunatic? No. If that's what they truly feel, then that's probably what they interpreted.
But so are you trying to say a flat earther is of sound mind?
Well, here's the thing I've noticed about the flat earthers, and it is a super low percentage, like you're saying. But here's
I'm not saying they're not. I'm asking.
Totally. So, I mean, if that's what they truly believe, I mean, how do we say anything's wrong? If you look at the Japanese ancestry, they think there's spirits for every element, or the Native Americans. We don't believe that stuff if you're a Christian or Jewish. And so, I mean, if you're any of those other religions, does that make them wrong or lunatics?
No, but I think we're arguing apples and oranges here. The stuff you guys are talking about is very faith-based. I'm talking about things where you see someone stab Denny's, Vicky just stabbed you, and then you have someone else going, I don't think she stabbed her. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because we all know she stabbed her. There's proof of that. Just because they believe that and that's their truth doesn't necessarily mean that is the truth.
Oh, for sure. There's tons of stuff I disagree with that is held as truth. So, I mean, it's all. I just think it's up to interpretation. What they're doing is confusing. So, here's a definitive thing for you: the sky is blue. Is a blue color. Somebody will come back and say, well, it's not technically blue. It's actually a mix between yellow and blue. So get your facts straight. So you're like, all right, we'll whittle that down. It's actually yellow and blue. And the guys will go, well, actually, there's a little magenta in there, too. So now we have to make this new color to describe the sky, even though it's technically blue.
On certain topics, I can see how there's going to always be a debate, but then there's just flat-out things where you just can't debate.
For sure.
You can't debate it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
When did someone first introduce the theory that he was killed because of UFO evidence? Do you know?
With
JFK?
When was the first time? When was the first time someone?
It's just a conspiracy theory. I believe it was. I mean, obviously, it was after the fact that he was dead, but I think it's because he was so involved in the space race.
For sure.
And you had the going head to head with the Russians, and there was so much of that going on. They think the Russians did not go to space. They think they faked it, and it was so weird to watch. So I'm sick, and I'm watching all these conspiracy things about the moon's not real, and they're showing Buzz Aldrin getting punched or punching some other guy because I think it was Buzz who punched somebody. There was this one guy trying to debunk the moon and it being real, and he'd have all these interviews with astronauts and stuff, and then he'd get them to try to say, why don't you swear in this Bible right now and tell me that the moon landing was fake? And I believe it was Buzz who punches him in the face.
I must have watched the same show that you did.
You probably did.
so.
It's very good. But so to watch the conspiracy theory about how the moon landing wasn't real, and then watch the next documentary about how, oh man, there's space stations on the moon.
Yeah.
Well, shit, what is it? Did we go to the moon? How do we know there's space stations?
Well, that's the problem on stuff like that. And so as far as the flat earthers go, I think I've noticed like an internet movement where just because the government has told us one thing, there's a group, and this is why I say they're radical, but this is why I say maybe they're not lunatics, is that they are just defying what is being told to us because they want you to question everything that you're being told. So it's more of a movement of that. I've seen like the flat earthers, just because they're like, you can't prove that it isn't. Go out, show me a picture of you taking the moon, or from the moon, what Earth looks like.
Right,
Yeah.
just,
You
just
can't.
being oppositional to the whole sheep theory.
It's kind of almost just being oppositional.
And I'm torn because there's a part of me that
Well, you
believes.
should question everything.
Yeah, you should question things, but then it gets to a point where there's just some things. Now you're just arguing. And when I say lunatic, I'm just meaning stop acting like a lunatic.
Totally, and I don't mean lunatic offensively.
Eh,
And I
whatever.
know you don't mean it offensively
Who
either.
gives a shit? How
But is
about
that a
that?
person who's not of sound mind? I get it.
If people don't know what we mean by that, I don't know what to tell you.
Totally, but yeah, I mean, people do. They just want. I don't know. I think they just want something different. In fact, I have a pretty cool random fact that I found that would kind of subscribe to exactly what we're talking about here.
trying to hijack the segment, Denny?
A little tease for the future to come.
Yeah, I don't want you guys to think I'm arguing with you.
Absolutely not.
I'm just saying that it gets to a point where there's just certain things that is, boom.
It sometimes I'll kind of just play devil's advocate.
Oh, you have
It's
to.
more
Right.
about just you really should not trust anything anyone tells you ever, even if they're your best. You should just never trust anyone.
Well, I
Take it
think,
with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I think you need to get to a point in life where you need to observe
Totally.
and kind of take note and then make your opinion.
For sure.
And I'm a big part of my life is, I go on things in my gut, feelings more than proof sometimes.
I mean, that's the ultimate gauge right there. That's your own body telling you what it thinks is right.
Do you believe that, Vicky? Do you believe
Absolutely.
that your gut is always right?
I think it's right a large majority of the time, but the thing is, it's like we always second guess it and we always try to talk ourselves out of it. I am famous for, like, if I meet somebody and I don't like them, I'm being too harsh, let me rejudge, and then fast forward a few months, it's like, damn, I was right in the first place.
Yeah.
I should have just stuck with it and stopped being nice.
But I do think that intuition is not foolproof, though.
No.
I think
No,
that
it's
there.
not.
I think there's times that it can be. I agree with you. I think a lot of times your instinct does tell you to go and do, and it's the right move. But there's sometimes too. I think you can get in your own head.
Well, it depends on, too. I always look at my motivation for feeling that way. Am I feeling that way because I'm jealous? Am I feeling that way because, this is someone else's friend or, something like that? So I do question my own motivation when I get those feelings.
What kind of symptoms do you produce when you are jealous? Do you get jealous feelings? And if you do, what about?
Oh, yeah, I get jealous. I can pretty much manage to get jealous about almost anything.
Really?
I get really, really quiet. Like,
That's scary.
I withdraw, and I get really super quiet.
That's when Denny's knows something's wrong with me. I'm really.
Hello, what's up, bird?
I'm really quiet. Yeah, I kind of withdraw the same type of thing.
Because you're in your head.
Yeah, because I'm usually hey, what's going on? Blah blah blah. And if I'm silent, oh shit, something's gone down, and I'm thinking of something.
But
I get it.
I'd say gut's probably about 80% accurate. 20% of that is what you're bringing with you. So.
Amen on that.
Well, so just for easy examples, like if say somebody with blue hair robs you, and then 2 months later somebody else with blue hair robs you, you're gonna have a little bit of like I gotta watch these guys. So that is your own personal experience now
Right.
interfering with your true gut feeling. Just for an easy example.
Well, you teased it. Give it to us. Let's get some Denny's random facts.
yeah.
We have to work on that Denny's random facts.
We
jingle.
do. That's definitely one we gotta throw together. So I came across this one. This one, just to tie it in, because we're back ending off that other topic there. Thomas Jefferson. We were talking presidents last.
President number what, Vicky?
3?
Yeah, I think he is 3.
I think he's 2.
No.
No, he's
Adams.
John
is
Adams
two.
is 2.
Adams is 2.
Is Adams
He's 3.
That shows you how much I retain about the. You probably know better than
I think Thomas Jefferson's not number 2.
I don't think
He
so.
feels like a 3 to me, but I have done no research on my end for this. So
You talk, Denny. I'll continue to.
So whatever president he was, Thomas Jefferson wanted the Constitution to be rewritten every 19 years. In a letter to Madison, he mused that neither the Constitution nor the laws of a previous generation should apply to the current one. The reason 19 years was chosen was because at the time that was the mortality table for people. People live much longer now, so they argue probably you should change it every 25 years now.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about that? Change the Constitution. I mean, people would roll the F over if you were saying change the Constitution.
People are. It's happening. It's happening in politics. There are certain things people are talking about doing.
That's what amendments are for, though.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. But what do you guys think about that? Rewriting it, the Constitution. Our old laws should be rewritten.
Well, all I can say without getting too political is I would hate for certain governments who are in charge at the time when that 25 or 19 years roll around to be in charge of making the rules for me. I would be very leery depending on who is in power.
So whatever generation was probably being phased.
There's talk about, and I don't think it's going to happen, but some politicians are talking about doing, lowering the voting age to age 16.
Terrible.
Good or bad? Why is it terrible? Tell me why you think it's terrible. Not to derail your random facts.
So when I was 16, I freaked out because my mom wouldn't let me use the car to take a girl to the movies. So that's completely irrational behavior because now I'm like, whatever.
Do you think much changed from 16 to 18?
No, I'm still the same way. No, I'm just kidding. So 16, I think 18's young. I think technically, I know we need the numbers. And back, even what we're talking about, the changing the Constitution, 18 was, a young age back then. People live a lot longer now. You could technically up that to 25.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, I think people would lose
Should be
their
21 at least.
I think people would lose their shit if you change anything.
If you try to take anything away from anyone.
If you try to take anything away or add anything or change the normal, you are going to get people just so pissed just to get pissed.
Well, I always thought it was a contradiction that you could vote at 18, but you couldn't drink until you're 21.
Yeah.
You're telling me I'm old enough and mature enough to be able to choose who is going to control my government, but I can't have a beer?
I have always said you allow people to join the military at age 18. They can go and defend our country and us, and they can die in war, and then they can come back and be 19 or 20 and not get a beer. Are you shitting me?
Right.
And they can't rent a car.
Yeah, I mean, renting a car, by the way, kind of overrated. I thought it was going to be this cool thing.
It's neat, though. It gives you one extra thing to look forward to.
It wasn't that big, 25. I was like,
You're
yeah,
right.
I'm going to rent a car. Shit, I'm late bringing it back. I owe more fees.
But yeah, I always thought it was weird. You have to be 25 to rent a car, but you have to be 21 to drink and 18 to vote.
It's really, when you think about it and say it out loud, so we can fight a war, but we can't drink a beer,
Right.
or we can blah, blah, blah. It's kind of insane.
Well, you can smoke cigarettes at 18.
Is that the age? Yeah, 18.
Yeah, 18 and 19 in Alabama. But why would you be able to do something they know is harmful? Whereas alcohol, is not probably the best thing for you, but it's not super detrimental unless you develop an issue.
I don't think you like the idea of young people.
No, because I hear what they say. I
things.
see what they say on Twitter. You think I want that person voting? I see how bent they get about everything. But I mean, because at that age, you're still controlling your emotions. You can't even separate logic from emotions.
But they'd fire back on Twitter
I'm
saying
sure.
Denny's okay, but there's a lot of people in their 40s and 50s that are overly emotional.
You're right.
And that
I'd be called ageist. I get it.
you're
But-
being ageist.
But here's also the thing, and this is also not popular either. I think at a certain age, you should have to retake your driving test to do it all over again to see if you could still drive.
So you're trying to piss off all of our demographics
Well, that's what I'm
today.
saying. I know when I get to the age and they're like, you have to take a test, I'll be like, fuck off. But
I know.
and I
took-
accept that responsibility.
If I took a test right now, I don't think I would pass it. I don't think I'd pass.
I'd have to study.
I don't think if I did not study a written driving test. Do they even do written driven
I
tests?
couldn't even tell
they
you.
do.
I'm so old. I don't even know.
Yeah, they do.
I couldn't even tell you. I imagine you do it from your house off the internet. Who knows?
No, you have to go there, and they have a little parking lot.
I know you have to do the driving, but I remember.
No, the test, you can do it online. You can already have your test done online, and then you go and you get your picture taken for your permit.
Of course, everyone's cheating,
Of course
right?
they are. I remember. Back
That was
when,
the hardest part. Was that written part?
Of course it was. Back when I was 16, and it let you know as you're taking the test. You can only miss one more question. I'm like, shit, man. Thank God the last question was, what does this sign mean? And it's a deer with an X around it. I'm like, don't run over the deer. Click, yeah, pass. But I mean, it was a Hail Mary. I almost didn't pass that shit.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not a popular vote. But you think at a certain age as well, you should be reevaluated. Especially, I mean, even if you're like the CEO of a company. Yeah. The times have changed so much. You don't think you need a brush up?
Vicky,
I know it's not popular.
Thoughts on? It's probably more popular than you think. It depends on the age demographic.
You're right.
I'd
It's
imagine.
50-50 on Twitter.
I mean, if you probably polled 18-year-olds, they're probably going to say, "Fuck Denny's."
Yeah.
I have always said that if I get in a car accident with an older person who cannot see over the steering wheel, who's sitting on a cushion that can barely move, that I am going to be the first one to say that they need to start testing them and taking them on the road to see if they are actually functional.
Well, that's why I'm all about these cars that drive themselves in the future.
I don't know, Denny's. I don't know.
Minority Report, just like that movie. I bet you that's how it's going to be.
So, Vicky, why don't you tell us? Oh, you know what? Go ahead and finish your random facts up, Denny's. We are going to be talking to the Bigfoot guy today. I know you have to probably get him on the phone. It's going to be kind of hard of you doing a random facts and getting him on the phone.
I'll rattle off a couple more here. See if I can rock you guys.
Yeah, rock our world.
All right. So you guys know the company Pepsi Cola?
Yes.
The original name, Pepsi Cola, shortened to Pepsi, but Pepsi was not their original name. Did you know the original name of the company Pepsi when they first competed against Coca-Cola?
Tell me, Denny's.
It'd be really tough. Well, so Pepsi is derived from dyspepsia. It was designed as a sweet drink that also helped aid in digestion, helped lower abdominal fullness, heartburn, nausea, belching. He wanted to create a seltzer that would give people relief from heartburn or sort of any indigestion. So they changed the name to Pepsi Cola to compete with Coca-Cola. But the original name, formed in North Carolina, 1893, was called Brad's Drink.
Brad's Drink.
Brad's Drink.
That's a weak-ass soda name.
So they had Brad's Drink for 4 years, and clearly it did not do so well until they changed the name to Pepsi Cola.
Brad's Drink didn't take off?
Brad's Drink, named after Caleb Bradham, who made it at his drugstore and sold it as a cure for dyspepsia, which is where it got its name, with the mixture of the cola nuts, where it got Pepsi Cola. But yes, Brad's Drink. Would you guys have drank it if it was called Brad's Drink instead of Pepsi Cola?
I probably would have.
Yeah, I would have tried it. But I think the key for their changing their name was putting the cola at the end, not the Pepsi part. Because it was Coca-Cola and then Pepsi Cola. The cola was the key.
Cola is the key. But Pepsi does. I mean, I don't know about their...
Now, if it would have been Brad Cola, it may have been still been as
It's a great name.
Brad Cola. That sounds swanky. I like that one.
It's a very classy name.
Very classy. What do you guys think about this? You know how we have liquids, gases, solids, and each one respectively. You can, breathe gases, swim in liquids, all that fun stuff. Stand on solids. What if I told you, guys, there's a liquid you can breathe? What do you guys think about this? There's a thing called liquid breathing they're working on to help space travel so that humans can travel farther in space. And it's also to cure illnesses where the lungs aren't able to function. What do you guys think about this? So what it is it's called perfluorocarbon. It is a liquish gas.
Just judging by Vicky's face, she's not that impressed with this factoid.
Well, I'm also processing like when a person has oxygen, like it is kind of liquidy. If you put the oxygen that's coming through and you put your hand in front of it, there actually is condensation.
Well, actually, if you take hydrogen and oxygen, two gases, aim them right at each other, it forms water right in front of your eyes.
So,
are you guys in a gas off right now?
Well, so I mean, each state is related to each other because water can go through all of them.
Yeah.
It can do them all. But imagine being completely submerged in a liquid and be able to breathe. That's something they're working on for the future. I was seeing what you guys thought about that.
I would think it's cool. Aquaman could really live.
So it's oxygen-enriched liquids. So when you breathe it, your body absorbs it just like air, but it's liquid into your lungs, and your lungs eventually become fully filled with liquid, and you're cycling in and out liquid.
All right, Vicky, I know Denny's is excited about that one. But
that's so cool.
What is your grade on that?
Oh, see.
Wow. Damn, dog.
So when that catches on, you guys will think it's cool. I get it.
Okay, if you could go under a liquid and breathe, other than water, what would you want to be submerged in?
I'd probably go fruit punch.
Oh gosh, that's
It's
such a good
so
answer.
good.
Fruit punch is so good.
It's the best of the fruit juices.
I just bought 2 little mini fruit punches at the gas station. I was so pissed off because I didn't buy 9 more of them. They were so small.
Go to Publix right now, man. They got them on sale.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna hit some fruit punch big time. All right, sorry, Vicky. We had to derail the podcast for some fruit punch talk.
What would you pick, Bird?
Squirt.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm a big squirt fan. I love me some squirt. It's putting on some back fat though. I'll tell you that much.
What's your favorite liquid, Vicky?
Well, sweet tea probably.
Oh gosh,
I'm
man.
very southern.
I love
cannot.
sweet tea.
I cannot stand sweet tea.
Why?
I just think it tastes like sweet shit.
It literally tastes like sugar water with a hint of flavor.
That's why, like certain places like McDonald's, you can't get the sweet tea. You have to get half cut. You have to get half unsweet and sweet. Otherwise, you're like it's off the charts. Sweet.
Yes.
On paper, I should like sweet tea. I just, for some reason, I don't. I don't.
Do you want me to get this guest on?
Yeah, why don't you give us one more random? Do you have? Let's end on a high note. Give us another one.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I kind of just did some look into this, and I didn't know if you guys know. You know the word nightmare? I was wondering, why is the word nightmare? Does it mean like a nighttime horse comes in? You know, it's kind of weird. So I looked at the etymology of this word, and nightmare is actually kind of cool. It was it made its first appearance in 1300 in a manual script, and what it is the term mare was adopted from another language to mean horse here, but the original term mare, which is M-A-E-R-E, is a demon that suffocates one in their sleep. Thus, an incubus or a succubus. So that means that this concept has been around forever. And night, actually, in the old language, didn't mean nighttime like we do. It means dark.
I do.
So it means dark demon.
I do
that's
like.
why you have nightmares.
I like that factoid, Denny. That's an A for me, only because
Now, he knows it's an A+ for me.
Yeah.
I aim to please.
So, do you think it is sleep apnea, or do you think sometimes it is demons blocking your sleep?
I think it actually, because one of the easiest way for spirits to communicate with us is when we're in the sleep state. So absolutely, it could be something communicating with you, something oppressing you.
There are times where I am in these horrific night terrors. I mean, they are just bad nightmares. And I know I'm trying to get out of the nightmare. I know it's in a terrible situation. I know I need to flee, and I have to get out of there. And it's almost kind of like I'm privy to the fact that it is a nightmare. I know that I'm dreaming, and I got to get this shit out of there. So I can feel me not wanting to leave, but it's almost like somebody physically forces me out of my dream, like they're pulling me out.
Right.
Is that sleep apnea, or am I dealing with some demon shit?
Now, I would actually go more towards the psychological end on that one. I would say it's probably some kind of subconscious issues that you have, and because you're in that particular state, you're kind of prisoner to go through that.
But I'm suffocating too. When I do awake.
That's because from a psychological standpoint, it could be that whatever your issue is, it is suffocating you, and not in a physical sense, but in an emotional sense and a moving on kind of sense in your life. And so in your dream, it's trying to get you to deal with whatever that issue is and bring it up to the surface, and thereby trapping you in order so that you have to face it.
Okay, so you're saying
I know you didn't expect me to go
so
on that end. But
the only demons you're talking about is the ones I'm bringing to the table. Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, I mean, pretty much could be.
Vicky, why don't you do me a favor and give us a little intro of our guest today? Because I know is he a personal friend of yours?
No, he actually, I got his name from Tim Yancey, one of our former guests. And
Who is
my
awesome,
friend.
by the way.
Yes,
we love Tim.
Yeah. And he is our local, as in Florida, expert on the Bigfoot, which here in Florida we tend to call them the skunk ape around here. And his name is Robert Robinson, and he is, I believe, like in Central Florida is where he's located.
I'm interested to talk to him because my whole life, especially I'm even going to go with my adult life, I have been ridiculed for my belief in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, skunk apes, the abominable snowman, all of it. I have been ridiculed. And I feel like Bigfoot believers, out of everything we talk about, is the lowest percentage that we have. Right now on the phone, we've got Bigfoot expert Robert Robinson. Robert, how's it going, brother?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How you guys doing?
Thank you so much for joining the Weird Whatever podcast.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Where are you located at? Are you out of
I'm I actually live in Winter Haven, Florida. I mean, I live right next to Legoland. I mean, literally. I can take a rock and I can hit the employee parking lot from where I live.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Okay. So I'm not sure if you heard me with the intro. I've been ridiculed my whole life about Bigfoot and my belief in the species. Have you seen the species? What makes you a Bigfoot expert?
Well, I got to be honest. When you said that, there is no, in my opinion, there is no such thing as an expert. Okay, and the reason I say that, and I'm going to refer to Jane Goodall. She was the primatologist who studied the silverback gorillas. And at any given time, you could go up to Jane Hay and say, Jane, could you show me some of these gorillas? And Jane could actually take you out there, and she would show you where these silverbacks were at. You know, and with that thinking, if you came up to me and said, hey, Rob, I want you to take me out and show me some skunk apes, I can't do that. I mean, I know where they're been seen. I know where, areas where they've been, but, we're still not 100% what these animals are. So I don't really think there is an expert out there. I don't care what anybody says. I am definitely one of the top researchers out there, especially here in Florida.
Have you ever seen something with your own eyes where you're like, okay, that was a Bigfoot, that was a skunk ape?
I've had two encounters with two things that I could not explain. One was some glowing eyes. I was out with my son, and we had night vision goggles, and we heard the thing walking around splashing around in the water next to us when I was going out to retrieve a trail camera. And the glowing eyes were sitting above us, and there wasn't any branches or anything for it to be a raccoon or anything. And plus it was making screaming noises at us. And because I didn't have any bear mace or anything with me, and the animal sounded like it was really ticked off. We went back to my Jeep. And the second time, actually I've had a couple incidents where I was out with Stacy Brown Jr. and his group, the Sasquatch Hunters, and we were out in teams, and I was with this other gentleman and this other young lady, and she did a scream. And shortly after that, I saw something standing out in the middle of a palmetto field with a thermal. And when I handed the thermal over, whatever took off running. And again, there was, no flashlights, nothing out there. So, we're wondering, about it being a human. But we went out there and we could see where it was out there, and it knocked over some the grass and stuff. And we put an individual out there who stood about 6 foot, and I went back to where I was standing with a thermal, and you could see that whatever it was out there was about 2 feet taller than Dave was, who was 6 foot tall.
What do you think Bigfoot is? Is it an animal? Is it half human, half person? There's so many theories out there.
Yeah, there is a bunch of theories. I mean, some people think it's an ancestor of Gigantopithecus, which that can't be because the orangutan is the ancestor of Gigantopithecus. Or it's a paranthropus, but again, bones have only been found from that animal in Africa. So, I mean, it is definitely some kind of a primate of such. Could it have been escaped ape and all that? I don't think so, because the animal has been seen before, the settlers even came to Florida. The Native Americans down here, and I'm talking all the tribes that have been down here, Seminoles, the Creeks and all them, they all have stories of a large primate, a hairy primate, humanoid creature that dwells in the swamps and the forests here. Back to your original question, I think it's some kind of a primate. I think when we do finally, find out what this animal is, I think it's gonna rock the scientific world.
And I think a big misconception too, people who don't really follow or study Bigfoot stuff, they think it's just one creature just roaming around the whole earth. This is a species, is what we're talking about, correct?
Oh, yes, sir. And you've got Bigfoot located on the West Coast. You've got the skunk ape located down here in Florida and parts of Georgia. You've got the grassman up in Ohio. You've got the falcon monster over in Arkansas. So, this is my theories and mine alone, that this is the same species animal, and the only thing separating this animal or difference between this animal is just geographic locations.
Okay.
Now, the skunk ape down here in Florida does seem to be a bit leaner And, as one of my students said it, our skunk ape's in better shape than Bigfoot because he's nice and lean.
Typical South Florida.
Yeah.
Sobe,
got
Bigfoot.
abs.
On the South Beach diet.
Yeah, on the South Beach diet,
Yeah,
exactly.
South Beach, absolutely. There was some misconception that the animal down here was about 6 foot and smaller. And, I've been doing research for a book, and I'm looking at old newspaper articles, and all of them say this animal is approximately 8 foot tall, if not larger. And that's the same height as the Sasquatch and the Bigfoot over in Oregon and, Washington State and California.
Okay, let's say we here at the Weird and Whatever podcast, we want to go out and we want to, get to the biggest chance we can see a skunk ape. Where do we go? What time of day? What time of year? What part of Florida? What's our best shot of seeing something?
Well, now the skunk ape has been seen all over Florida. The only place it hasn't been seen is out at Key West.
It's too low. It's too relaxed, I think, maybe.
It's resort and expensive.
But it's been even seen outside of NASA. It's been seen out on the fence line. As far as the best time of year, most of myself and a lot of Bigfoot hunters, we usually hit it when it's not too hot out there, and it's not so much the heat as it's just that the mosquitoes are so bad down here. And but like this time of year, you're going to catch a lot of Bigfoot hunters out there, and we have a couple. Ocala National Forest is a big hotbed for Bigfoot sightings, and the Green Swamp, which is located west of Orlando, that's a big hotbed of Bigfoot sightings.
Everglades, what about that?
The Everglades does have them, but there doesn't seem to have been that many. There did seem to be a lot in the 70s and stuff, and I would attribute that mostly because a lot of that wasn't built up. There's a lot of more housing areas and more development than there used to be down there. So that's kind of pushed the animal, in my opinion, it's kind of pushed the animal back into some of the swamps. And, of course, it's moved up and down. It uses various rivers like the Peace River and the Withlacoochee River to move around that.
Robert, according to my notes, it says you were in the military. Is that correct?
Yes, I served for just over 21 years in the United States Army. I was a airborne military policeman.
Oh, that's perfect for the next question I'm going to ask you. I'm going to go ahead and switch a little bit to aliens and UFOs. Did you ever see anything that you could not explain in the sky where you're like, all right, that is a UFO, not of this world?
No, unfortunately, I haven't. My wife has, but I haven't. I am a member of MUFON, but unfortunately, I am a big fan of the whole UFO extraterrestrial. I mean, I read a lot of books about Roswell, but no, sir, I haven't seen anything in the sky, but it's not for lack of trying. I'll tell you that.
But you are a believer of aliens.
Yes, sir. I call myself a legend tripper. And that's the book that I wrote, Legend Tripping. And I was asked, in fact, not just recently, it said, so do you believe in Bigfoot and haunted houses and UFOs? And I said, yeah, I do. That's why I go out looking for them. So, the answer to your question, yes, I do believe there are, extraterrestrials out there. I do believe we have been visited.
Some people believe, and this is a crazy theory, that Bigfoot is a alien from a different
alien species.
That's why we haven't been able to find him or her, the species. But that's the one question that the naysayers always they always bring this point up. They go, well, if Bigfoot and aliens exist, all this stuff is real, how come nobody has found them? How come no one is, putting it on YouTube? What would be your answer to that?
Well, first of all, we have, I got asked this question the other night at a library. A lady asked me, why don't you find any bones? And I said, well, these animals, there's some theories that, the animals, again, on the non-terrestrial side of the house, that these animals, bury their dead, and they go pretty far back out there too. They're not like walking down the street and, die and all that stuff. I mean, same reason you'll find panther bones or bear bones out there. So, can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you think it's
I'm
more...
in a golf cart. I have to move around. Our fire alarm just went off where my school is, so I'm trying to get away real quick so I can talk to you guys without
No
hearing the,
problem.
fire alarm.
Not a problem. I wanted to end on that question anyway. So if you got to get going, and Vicky, did you have something?
I just had one question. There's been a lot of speculation through all these years, especially because we don't know exactly the nature of Bigfoot. There's also people that say that the creature possesses almost supernatural powers, like it has the ability to read minds, it has the invisibility factor. Have you come across those theories?
Yes, I've got it. Ones where the animal has ability to cloak itself, or that it's been seen going into vortexes, and again the whole UFO thing. It's been seen coming out of UFOs, or UFOs have been seen, and then shortly afterwards there's been some Bigfoot sightings. Yeah, I've actually run into that to quite a bit. My deal is I haven't seen that yet, but I keep an open mind, and I tell everybody everything's still on the table. It's just one of those things I'm going to have to see before I can, discount this animal being a flesh and blood creature. But one of the noted Bigfoot hunters down here in Florida, back in the 60s and 70s, Ramona Clark Hibner, at first she stated that, she didn't want to do any of that UFO Bigfoot connection, but she kept getting more and more sightings where people were saying, I saw some strange lights, I saw lights go, and then I saw Bigfoot. She said it got to be so much she couldn't ignore it anymore. So, to answer your question, it's still on the table, but it's something I need to see. But it just, my logical thinking is this animal has the ability to go, has mythical powers or has the ability to cloak itself or go in vortexes. It would seem to me it would be running this planet, not the humans.
Yeah.
Good point.
Thank you so much for joining the Weird One Ever podcast. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry I actually found a spot out here. I'm away from the school, so it's
No worries.
now.
Robert Robinson is his name, and you said the book is called Legend Tripper?
It's called Legend Trip and the Ultimate Adventure. It's published by Adventures Unlimited Press.
Great.
Okay.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. That was fun.
Okay, we have to schedule. We have to go out on a field trip.
Yeah.
I know we keep talking about that. It's annoying to the people, I'm sure, but we got to. Gosh, man.
Well, I was told years and years ago I met someone who was a major believer in Bigfoot, and she had a research institution or something, and she totally believed in the mystical side of the creature. And she said there are certain people that are Bigfoot communicators, and for risk of being ridiculed, she actually tagged me as one of those people that she thinks could actually communicate with the creature if I came within a distance of them.
Look, I want that to be real, but there's a
You
lot
want
of
that position.
There's a lot of things I want in life that I'm not going to get. I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm not sure if Bigfoot's got all these mind powers. I would. They'd be cool.
I've never heard that angle that he can open vortexes or control people's minds.
I have. Well, that's where a lot of the erotica comes from. I was going to bring up the Bigfoot erotica, but I
Bigfoot
don't know.
erotica doesn't discredit it at all.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
Bigfoot erotica.
if I ever met a female Bigfoot and we got along, could I have sex with her? I don't know if he would have liked that question.
Yeah.
But think about it. This creature has the utmost survival skills.
Absolutely.
The fact that it's never been caught, the fact that there's not positive proof, but you have multiple sightings in multiple states and regions of the world, yet we still don't have concrete evidence. Come on, this is like the ultimate survivor,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So one interesting thing he said was that I forget it was something Pithecus. It wasn't the
Gigantopithecus.
So it was the second one he listed.
Yes.
That I had never heard of. But he said that that doesn't make sense because their bones have been spotted only in Africa.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if you think about it, at the end of the 18th century or whatever, humans always are trying to find that new marvel, that new crazy thing you've never seen before. So you wonder if, just like the premise of King Kong going out to the lost world to find something to bring back to New York City, you wonder if it's the same type of thing. What if in the turn of the century they brought this marvel over from another country, this giant 8-foot ape man, and then it got away or something, or they brought a bunch over and then just stopped. Like it was
Like
no
like
longer
the pythons we've got.
totally
Or
released it out.
innocently, like if they were younger ones.
Totally,
And
and
thinking it's some kind of
release
ape
it
or something.
out into the wild, and then they reproduced, and then that could be why there's a limited species. I mean, that's totally. I mean, that makes more sense to me than the mysticism behind it.
Yeah, I can see that. It does start to lose me with the magic.
The mysticism does make me lose it a little bit, but I mean, you could also. I mean, you can't argue that it could be alien species too. I mean, that's absolutely true. If it's something that can hide this well from us, I mean, you can't
You sound
argue.
so stoned right now.
Totally.
But you could argue, man. Bigfoot could be an alien, man.
You just can't argue against
alien.
it. You just can't, because I mean, we can't find
You're
it.
right.
We have
We-
nothing to prove otherwise.
We talked about at the beginning of the podcast. No matter what you show, there's no proof. Nothing's 100%.
Absolutely.
I do want to thank everybody, all the weirdos out there that submitted their near-death experience. I think somebody, either Angelica or you, put up something on Instagram, and it said, did anyone have a near-death experience? And a bunch of people gave their answers. Have you guys ever almost kicked the bucket?
I was drowned once.
I've almost drowned a couple times.
I got grabbed and pulled out of the water, and I was already starting to go under. So
Yeah, the undertow took me
Same-
at Juno
same here,
Beach,
man,
out,
same
out
here.
by Carlin Park. Took me under, and some weird dude out of the blue. I shouldn't say weird. I mean, weird's a compliment with this crew. But out of the blue, I thought it was over, and he saved my ass. And 2 minutes later, I found a brand new Star Wars figure, a Jawa, at the end of by the shore.
it's the age-old tale.
Almost died. Thought my life was over,
Star
and
Wars
then
story.
boom, I find a new
Well,
Star
I was
Wars
surfing once, and I hit my head on a sea turtle. And, dude, it almost knocked me out. I didn't think I was going to make it back, but I did, luckily.
We sound like the low-budget Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure.
Dude, I hit the sea turtle so hard with my dome. The thing was
yeah.
probably reeling, too.
I almost died in a couple car accidents.
Yeah. It's not a contest.
See, I'm bragging now.
So what's the theory that when you have a near-death experience, you find some sort of...
That's why I wanted to talk to Vicky. You know, we always talk about the people who have the when they die and they come back to life. They have a different point of view with how they just kind of look at life. They say a lot of people who cross over, that die, that come back. And I just had someone in my personal life die twice on an operating table, and they said they felt like they were floating. But they come back and they have a different just opinion on life. They don't sweat the small stuff. Now, I'm sure that's not every near-death experience person.
For sure.
But I wonder, there is a difference between going under, crossing over, and then, like what you're saying, you almost die. You don't go under.
Didn't quite get that next step.
But having a moment like that, does that
Mortality check.
Does that change your perspective when you almost die? Like when I almost died in that 7-car pileup on I-95 for a week or two, you are thinking about everything.
Mortality checks.
Mortality check, but it seems it wears off after a while.
It does.
Right.
It does.
Why is that, Vicky?
I don't know. I think there's definitely a conscious and an unconscious element to both of it. When you come back, you realize, oh, gosh, I almost died. So that's that conscious thought that you have. It's like, life is short. Let me enjoy. Let me do what makes me happy. The unconscious part may simply because you were that close to the other side. And once you've been touched by the other side, it changes you. Just like if someone, is a skeptic and never had an experience, and then you have that one that just completely blows your mind, that totally changes your perspective.
It all comes down to we're all looking for a little peace, looking for a little hope.
Well, so I did some digging through YouTube, and I found it's kind of weird. I don't know how I stumbled into this, but it was atheist scientists. It was people who were in a profession where they studied science. They knew fundamentally how humans work, So that tend to lead them down a path of atheism opposed to a path of faith. Just for the ones I found on YouTube.
It's what they can prove, not what they can feel.
Now, see, I found a group, and these are all different videos unrelated to each other, of different people who were atheists and of science who had near-death experiences and then became spiritual afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is weird because you're turning the ultimate heckler.
Yeah.
You're turning him.
I would love to interview a hardcore atheist that turned into someone that's got spiritualism.
They're on YouTube. You can look it up. And
Yeah,
they explain their situations.
Well,
and
let's book someone like that. I love it.
Yeah. So we'll see if we can book them. But watch the videos, because whether they can explain it as something divine or something chemical in their brain. They said no matter what it is, and if you experience it, it changes you, just like you guys are saying, and that it is something they can't explain, which is all of the recipe for somebody to then attach it to a faith or a personal belief or science, whatever they want, whatever their body is telling them or their mind is telling them. But it's funny because they were the complete opposite. You die, you're a battery, you're done, to maybe there is something on the other side. I did see a light. I did feel the sensation of being lifted in the air. I did hear a voice. I felt warmness from light. All these weird things you would never hear an atheist say.
Okay, so and I'm not at all calling you an atheist, Denny. I'm just saying.
For sure.
I'm saying you are more of the person who you got to see it to believe it. You don't necessarily believe in an afterlife.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. What, in your opinion, you with your perspective of the world and the universe, does faith at all play a point in your life anywhere? Is it? Even though you don't believe in spiritualism, stuff like that, does faith still have a place in your world?
I mean, so you can attach your faith to whatever you want. People choose to take, religion and attach their faith to religion. You can attach your faith to people. You can attach your faith to your own self. You can attach your faith to whatever you've experienced in your life and you personally believe. You're not subscribing to a predetermined religion. You're kind of stemming off and making your own religion, which is more or less what I do. I kind of just see what I see, and then I interpret it how I interpret it. Clearly, mine's going to be different from anyone else who goes
But
through
you
my
do have a
experience.
form of faith. There's a level of faith that does drive you somewhat.
Totally. So maybe it's not necessarily, and I know it's super unpopular, maybe not necessarily in a divine being that I have a faith.
I don't think it has to be.
I don't think it has to be either. I do have a faith. I do believe that you should have a faith. Otherwise, what's it for?
Well, I think
even if it's not for anything, which say we're just thrown here and there is no reason. I know human nature wants a reason. We want to finish. We want a story.
We want a happy ending.
But from what we learned from nature, I mean, there really isn't any recipe or reason that we should have any of that. Just because we're humans and we want it, we should have a finish, a story, a finality. We should have an answer. There's nothing in the book that says we should have any of that.
But then why was that given to us? Then why is that such a driving factor?
I think it's because humans
it's almost like a hunger for people. It's knowing
it's a
where we
basic
came
need.
from, knowing why we're here. That is, I know for me, that's like a hunger. I constantly need to know, why are we here? What is the point of this? I can't accept the whole, we're just here. That doesn't make any sense.
Nobody
to
can.
me.
And that's
Yeah.
why we have so many different religions, and that's why we have so many different theories of how it all works.
But
that's why scientists hide behind their science.
Do you
Religion
think,
hides behind their faith.
do people get to the point where they're so overwhelmed with the idea of, all right, we're just born and then we're here and we're in the floating in space, and you know what? It's so over the top and overwhelming. I'm just gonna say, I don't want to think about it. I'm going to go do something else. I'm not going to have any kind of faith.
So say a study comes out tomorrow and says, oh, you know what? We found out humans just, when you die, you disappear. It's fact now. Like you said, it's fact. And people are going to dispute it. But that, at this moment, fictionally in this story, is
it's showing
fact.
that's what's going to happen.
What's anyone going to do the next day? What's your goal for Tuesday, the next day after? How do you handle that? You find out now that nothing that matters in your entire life. You're going to go to the end and then vanish.
Vicky, what are your thoughts
I'd
on
be
that?
one of those people that would be like, nah, I don't believe it.
Dude, why the hell are you going to go to
Because I
work?
believed for so long.
The first thing I would do is go, all right, sweet, I'm not paying any of my student loans.
Why would you go to work? Why would you do anything?
Well, 'cause
and then
you're
what
still-
kind of life is that?
'cause
That you
you're-
mean nothing.
Well, because I've heard atheists talk about this. They ultimately say, all right,
We're a bacteria.
we get up, go to work, and blah, blah, blah. But I've heard people say, just because I'm an atheist doesn't mean I don't believe and still making the earth a better place. Doesn't mean I'm here.
For sure.
I'm going to be here for a while. I might as well make the best of it. Now, whether they can detach from, results of what you're going for, I think a big part of the anxiety, depression, stress we humans have, we're so attached to the outcome of what we're doing. If you're working on a bit for the show, it's got to be good. The people got to like it. If you're teaching a student, they got to get it. We're always constantly saying we got to do good. We have to get better. We have to get better. Do you still have that? Do you still have that drive?
Well, so I think a lot of people would lose that.
You do?
The minute, if that was proven,
Vicky?
Like I said, in this fictional scenario, if that was proven, I think a lot of people would be disheartened by that.
I think we have to set goals. I think we have to have faith in something. It would be like the difference between if I want to, my faith is that Paris, France exists, and I want to go there. Okay, I believe that it exists, so I'm going to see what route I'm going to take to get there. But if I don't believe in it, and I randomly roam the earth, I may never bump into Paris.
Yeah.
So you have to. I think as human beings, we have to have some kind of belief system. We have to have some kind of goal to work for. Otherwise, we're really like basic animals.
But can't you go too far sometimes with a belief system, a faith where it's good to have, but you can also go over the top with it. And I'm not even talking about
anything.
I'm not talking about just religion. I'm talking about anything you overly have faith with.
Anything in life, you can always overdo it and take it to the extreme if you choose to. Absolutely. And then it becomes detrimental rather than, fulfilling a purpose.
Well, so I think faith and hope is important.
It is.
It might not be a complete basic need, but I think it is essential because otherwise.
Well, I mean, you ask the question, what if your whole faith system, and again, I'm not even talking about religion. I'm just saying,
Whatever
let's say
it is you believe
were
in.
raised to believe that when you eat vanilla ice cream, it is going to, it just, for the next 3 hours, you're the smartest person around.
Yeah.
And that's what you really believe. And that's been your whole faith. That's been your whole system of belief. But it's not based in reality. That, to me, is when things can potentially get kind of screwy.
Can potentially, but the power of the mind. If you believe that is going to happen every time you eat the ice cream, you might actually be faking it well enough to make it a reality.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying you can't fake it to make it in this world. Lord knows I've done that. But it goes to the very beginning debate we had. It gets to a point where just because it's your reality in quotes,
Is it?
is it the
Actual
reality? I completely understand your guys' thoughts about people have their own perspective on things, but there are certain things on this planet where it's just a fucking fact.
It's concrete.
Yeah, it's concrete.
But the bottom line is, it's our own reality and our own
You're right.
perspective that matters. It doesn't matter what Denny's thinks to me. No disrespect.
Totally,
but
I get
I'm
it.
saying what his reality is has nothing to do with mine. My reality is the important one because I'm the one living it.
Unless your reality is now going
it's
through
to the extreme, and there's something, some major ramifications because I think I can fly and I jump off this building. Absolutely. But I'm just saying within reasonable limits, it's okay to have your own reality that has a basis in truth.
Yes, it's
to a certain degree.
It's got to have
you know
a
what I'm
basis
saying?
in
Has
truth.
a little bit of basis in truth.
Yeah, that's all I want to get established.
So I would argue, though, because, you go with the atheist end or the faithful end. My big argument is, why do humans have the feeling, then, that there's something higher power than us? Every person has it.
Well, because we're designed
But
to
so if we're
constantly-
designed like that, does that mean that there is a divine power?
No, it doesn't mean that there is, but it is odd how we are just, as a species, designed to constantly, okay, what's next? I got to finish that puzzle. I got to keep going. All of that stuff. There's another level. That's why video games are so popular. There's another level. Keep in my mind. There's another beyond out there. I just think that is built into us. And I don't know why. I have no idea.
If we think of us as animals, when have you ever seen an ant chilling reading a newspaper while all the other little ants are working to
Well,
make
they
the pile?
can't because their arms are so small, Vicky. Paper's too big. It wouldn't work.
But they just work. They do tasks
They work because
until they
that's what
die.
they're designed to do.
And then you see other animals out there, like an elephant. An elephant, they are so smart and so in tune with their emotions and the emotions of their whole group. So, an elephant dies in their little tribe. They're heartbroken. They wail. They cry. They bury their dead loved ones. I mean, that's, I don't know. Is that just an animal being an animal, or is there something a little bit more complicated to that?
Do you only like it because it's like personified? That's like a personified thing. That's something humans do. Is
I
that
know.
why you like it?
Well, I think Yes, and it's the reason why I like it is because you grow up your whole life going, yeah, animals are cool, but they're not. It's almost kind of like animals aren't given their own genius, and I really feel like animals. The older I get, when I look at animals, I'm like, holy shit, we don't know diddly dick. They've got their own genius. They've got their whole world going on, and we're gonna act like we understand that because we've got our own little thought process. We don't know.
No.
We have theories.
But that's part of our mission here is to think we're superior.
Is it?
That's just how we're
But
designed.
so you wonder, why does the human have such a huge ego? Why is our ego? Why are we so butthurt if anyone disagrees with what we believe, even though our belief has no effect on their life whatsoever?
You could argue the human ego is the cause
Is the downfall.
of the downfall of so much. Now you could also make a argument the human ego has brought a lot of great things too.
Well, it brought great things to the human species. Did it bring great things to the earth?
Nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
automobiles are pretty boss.
They are, but
they kill thousands of things.
no, you're right.
Hundreds of
There's
thousands.
it's an interesting theory. I just don't like the idea of animals are dumb and blah blah blah, and humans are way more superior. I do not believe that anymore. I just don't.
Yeah, I definitely. Well, look. So just even compare us right now to 100 years ago. It was archaic. Things that are happening in 1919 were far different from 2019.
You're right.
That wasn't even that long ago. So we think we've learned so much in 100 years. Because what you would say when information started traveling fast, I'd say in the late 80s when the internet started being devised and we could transfer information through electronic means.
24-hour news cycle.
All that stuff gave us nonstop information. But that's all it is information. It doesn't really mean anything.
No, and there's information overload too. There's times where you can learn too much shit, and your brain goes haywire.
But all that information that we're getting from the last 100 years, we're even dismissing older stuff, with exception to the Bibles and such. But there's a lot of old information we don't even reference anymore because it's considered archaic because of what we've learned.
Just look at our country in the last 50 years.
Well, so
30 years.
Well, so the time frame used to be longer. Now that we have internet, I mean, it's pretty much like every 6 or so years we're evolving more than a decade's amount, and then in the future it's probably gonna be every 2 years we're evolving a decade's amount.
Well, there's always drink 6 glasses of water a day. It's great. It's gonna kill cancer, and then 3 years later, the water is poison. It's like make up my friggin' mind for me. What is it?
Well, that's what sucks is they are trying to make up their mind for you. But here's where we don't see.
Denny's is so against the establishment.
Well, I just don't like people telling me how it is because I'm like, how do you know? So here's that exact study: drink water, you'll be healthy. Don't drink water, you'll be healthy. You don't know anything about those stats. I don't know how many. This one they pulled 500,000 people. This one they pulled 10. I have no idea.
It's the same reason why I don't like focus groups because you don't know how they are administering that test. That doesn't let you know who is being asked, what questions are being asked, what kind of mood they are in.
Right. Just like whenever I see those polls on Facebook, such and such, this poll says this. Well, you didn't ask me.
Didn't ask me.
So who are you asking?
Who
Totally.
are you asking?
They're too inspecific. They would all have to be done exactly the same way by the same company without any variation for you to even take that. And then you got to take that with a grain of salt because you're doing a closed study with a small group.
And you can manipulate data any way you
and not
want
only that,
to.
there's variables in everything. If there wasn't, why do we have 10 different types of Coke?
Yeah, well, to me, like you guys were saying, to echo your point of view, nothing's 100%. As soon as someone says something's 100%,
It's biased.
and there is the smallest little thing that's not in that little group of it's flawed at that point. If it's 99.9, it is flawed. It's
Absolutely.
not 100%.
And you'll never see anything say 100%.
Is there anything on this planet that you can say without a doubt
Death.
is 100%? Well, you could argue. Some people would say, no, it's not dead. If you go to another dimension, so you're really not dead.
Right. You're just in another form.
You're in another form.
Yeah, so I would say, having a body in this realm,
I mean, it gets to a point.
stopping is a possibility. But going into another, I mean, I see what you're saying. But so I guess if you subscribe to that, then there's I guess an infinite amount of consciousnesses that continue for every plane forever. So after somebody passes away, that amount of consciousness, that means nobody ever actually truly disappears. So every person that's ever lived is now somewhere else in another plane.
So someone told me, okay, when you die and you go to heaven, all of your favorite pets are there, your favorite people are there. Like, okay, for example, if Vicky loved Elvis, she goes to heaven.
She gets Elvis.
And Elvis is like, oh, hey, sexy mama, it's me, Elvis. But then I'm thinking, why the shit? That's Elvis's heaven? He's gonna greet fans the rest of his life? You think he wants that shit? So, you know what I mean? I don't, it's such a man-made concept that I am not at all trying to poo-poo on anyone's thought. But growing up as a young kid, it's kind of like the whole thing with animals are dumb, humans are superior, blah, blah, blah. That's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the same thing. Oh, yeah, when you die, you go to heaven, and you're going to see Billy Joel there, Jay Bird, and you're going to see your dead dog, Charlie. It's going to be amazing. And I'm thinking, man, I don't know if Billy Joel wants to hang out with me. I mean, is that really his heaven?
What if Charlie doesn't want to hang out?
Yeah, he's like, fuck you.
Some people say dogs don't even get to heaven.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what they say, dog. I'm reiterating.
Who's saying that?
I'm pretty sure that animals do not make it to heaven.
I have absolutely heard so many theories of where animals do go to heaven. It depends on who you ask, man.
Well, if that's the case,
yeah.
If it's just who you ask, well, how do you know it's real then?
Well, I think that's a big thing of religion.
So I think it's just the pill that's tough for humans to swallow is that you might not get all the answers you want, at least not on this level.
Oh, no, it's the one thing I get frustrated all the time, knowing that I may not know what the shit this is. And I get it. Why do you have to know, Bird? I don't know, because I spent a lot of time here.
Because it's important.
And it's weird. Am I the only one that thinks that this process, living, being alive,
is insane?
Is insane and odd? I think it's fucking crazy.
It really is.
And I'm not high, Vicky. I know you're thinking I'm high.
I might be, but like, let me just throw this at you. Here's what's crazy to me. All right, so you have the act of reproduction. Two parties get together, reproduce, create a new one. It's the same thing cells do. It's the same thing animals do. It's the same thing pretty much everything in the world does. Humans have found a way to perverse that, to pervert it by making it. We have pornography, humans go and we get off on pornography. We're using sex as a pleasure tool more so than an actual act of reproduction, which is what it's technically designed to do.
I don't think we're on, guys. I don't think our video's on.
Our podcast.
Yeah, our podcast. Yeah, I'm looking at our Weird and Whatever we're not on.
Ooh, I'll look into it.
Yeah, we only have 12 people watching right now. We're not... We would be.
There's no cameras?
Our video would be on. It's not on. That's why I asked before we got in. I'm like, I don't see the video.
You mean I put on makeup and we're not even got cameras rolling?
I put on cologne.
Well, on that note, guys, thank you for listening to the Weird and Whatever podcast. It's just going to be audio today, it looks like. Yeah, because everyone's like, Jaybird, where are you? Jaybird said noon, didn't he? Yeah, we've been on. Well,
we've definitely been on.
I don't know.
I meant like on.
Just to let you guys know, we're not going to have to deal with this stuff anymore. We are getting our new studio. I know I've been talking about that a lot, but it's coming. I would be very annoyed if we're not doing Weird and Whatever next Wednesday at our place. I'll be very annoyed. I think
I think I have everything set up.
I know he's speaking to you, so.
Oh, no, I'm not. Denny's is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's all good.
Denny's is amazing.
We just got to do a little test run, and that's only just to make sure that halfway through it doesn't shut off or something.
Denny's has been awesome. Yeah, I'm just annoyed with the situation.
We've had a lot going on. I mean, people getting sick, too, doesn't help.
Sure. Okay, guys.
I do have something to plug before we go off.
Plug away.
My daughter, she did the makeup for Ann when you had the movie. You know, she did her face coming off. So she does have a new Instagram. It's at SFX Lensley, Lensley.
Okay, very, very
so
cool.
people want to follow her.
I think you put up a picture of like a finger cut off and then put back on.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Isn't that kind of cool?
She did a great job on Ann makeup. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm glad we have someone that does makeup. Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you for listening to the Weird and Whatever podcast. We love you all. Oh, before I say Bigfoot is real, we are trying to get a hold of the friends of Rachel Hurley. That was the girl that was murdered and raped back in I want to make sure I get this right, so I'm not appearing disrespectful. The date on that was she was 14 years of age. She was murdered March 17th, 1990. It was a case that stayed with me since I was a little kid. I was roughly her age when this all went down, and it did. It shook a community. And she, from everyone that I've heard from, she has an amazing family, and I would love to keep this case out there. Somebody knows something.
And I think if you wanted to speak to, if I remember correctly, a friend of mine, some of her family members were in Duffy's last week, I think.
Okay.
So maybe if they frequent the Duffy's there in Jupiter, you know, if you work there, if you go there.
I got an email into to a few of her friends, so I think hopefully next week. If not, we'll continue to highlight the case. It is the anniversary of that, so we, we are thinking of you, Rachel. Okay, guys, thank you. We love you all, and Bigfoot is real.
What was that? What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens? Well, you should be.